So basically I've gone over just about everything that I can. As you can tell, I changed the fluid in the rear end because it's everywhere. Yeah, I came out with some creamy stuff out of there, so I'm glad I did that. What else? There's got the leaf springs all put back on there, fixed up. This here was bent oddly. It wasn't broke or anything, but it was bent kind of funny, so I straightened it out and I welded reinforcements here, and then to keep it the box level, I did it on the other side as well. I've got to ream those out to be able to put the nut on there and get the bolt through it. Continuing on, that's the cross member. That one there is sort of cobbled together, but it's good enough. Anyways, continuing on down the line, I've been working sort of on the brakes and ball joints and wheel bearings because everything on this truck was gone. Start with the upper control arms. I changed those with ones off a parts truck. They're good. And same on both sides. We had to replace both of them. They were just shot. The ball joint on that side was bad. Changed that out. Changed the tie rod over there. This side here had no brakes, rotors, nothing. So I got that all done up. So it's good to go. Both sides are good to go for as far as that's concerned. The front diff had the fluid changed in it, and I've started to try and straighten this out, but I'm not quite. I've also got the Ranger harness done, and I got the ECU tuned as well. So we're making progress, just not all in the area of the frame. So I just treated the frame here a couple days ago with Cred Cutter rust reformer, 2 coats, and not really sure how great the results are. I mean, it's got this white powder all over it, and I washed it, and you can't seem to get rid of it. So it is what it is. I'm gonna load it with undercoating here anyway, soak it all in, but I'm thinking I probably should try and wipe some of this off because it's just powdery, right? So I've washed it and it's still there. Anyway, it's supposed to make the metal so that it won't rust anymore. Basically, the e-brake cable is bad, so I got a new e-brake cable. So I'm gonna run the e-brake cable up, connect it into the junction here, and I'm gonna put this all back together. And I'm gonna start with that for today. See how she goes, and yeah, go from there. All right, so progress is being made. This here is my rear bumper. Yeah, it's getting a little love job here. There was 2 rust holes there, and it's unfortunate because it's chrome, and I like the chrome on there. The front bumper's also chrome, so I'd like to leave it like that. But so what I did is I put the tape here, and I'm gonna make this black and leave the chrome out here to see how terrible it looks. If it looks decent, I'll leave it. If not, it'll go all black. I didn't just fix it with Bondo. I actually put metal in there behind it and reinforced welded in there and to the structural parts of it so that it will function as a bumper still. These are the pucks I'm using. I'm putting a body lift on it, and not much. As you can see, this is I believe 1.5 inch. They were 3 inch. There's a whole bunch of them here. I bought them like this so that I could buy less of them and cut them in 2 because these things are stupid expensive. So I wanted to save some money. Plus I didn't want a giant 3 inch body lift on it. I think it would look kind of ridiculous. So I just wanted it to sit up a little bit higher than it did from factory. So that's why I got these 1.5 inch blocks. So I got enough there to go around. And so that made me have to move everything up, which is raising the rear bumper and the hitch. And I didn't have to do the hitch, obviously, but when I had it here, you can see there's maybe 1 inch right there. Before it was, it was 1.5 inches down. So it looked kind of dumb, just like it was like the lowest point here in the back. So I had to change that. What a operation that was. That's like 1/4 inch thick steel that I had to weld and modify there to do it. But in the end, I would say it come out good and come out really, weld it really well. So I'm pretty confident that it's not going to break on me. And then I actually added those little corners in there, and I wedged them in there and welded around them just for a little bit of extra support on the top of it, just in case. I'm not going to be hauling a crazy amount with this, like haul my bikes around or something with the trailer. That'll be about it. So I'm not too worried about it. Raise the rear bumper. It was a little bit of a different sort of a thing to do it, and it's hard to show you right now because it's black, but this bar here went in there, and let's see, how was it before? Okay, so it's an L shape, and its surface went, see those two holes right there? Right there and there. They had two bolts through there, and that's how it bolted onto there. But I raised it up the 1.5 inches, and it hardly looks like it, but it in fact is, or it's supposed to be. If it's not, then I get issues. But anyway, I raised it that amount there, and so basically what I did is this bracket here, I took and cut it. You can see it's like this, right? So I cut a slit in it, and then I just slid it in right there where I wanted it, and then I welded that to the bumper here, and then I put 2 bolts through. There was one hole was already there, and I made another one. They're right there. Right there and there, and they go down through into the bracket. This is where the bumper mount it. Ding, ding. So I had to raise it up the width of the puck. So to do that, I just cut that out, and then on this one here, this is just a piece of square tubing, and I cut it in half. Stuck it on there, and I welded it on either side of it, and that's the bottom side of where it's supposed to be. So when I come on the back side, I'll be able to put the nut right on there like that. Ding, ding, tighten it down, and it should be good. Same with this side. Then I had to raise the tow hooks, also fix them, and they were mangled. Somebody had been quite stuck with this at one time. This whole bar was all bent. That's why this random thing's just welded on the top of there, because it kept bowing out there. It's not true. So I put that there to reinforce it, because I figured the metal was probably a little weak. So that's what that random thing is there. Anyway, to do this, I measured how much they had to go up from where they were originally. And then I cut it out with the grinder and moved everything up. Drilled a hole, bolted it there. Took the old bracket that was on it before, and I welded all the way around it, and a bunch of different stuff around there. Welded all over the place. More reinforcement on this thing that was weak. Same deal on this side. And so hopefully that lines up how it's supposed to. Showed you I got everything pretty well ran now. The brake lines are on it. It's pretty well all together. I got the box in here now. Just starting on that. Pretty much done the frame, I guess. So starting on the next thing here. Woohoo, the cab's on the track. Big excitement. We did this yesterday, my girlfriend and I. So she's all bolted down. I got the pucks in there. It took quite a bit to get everything lined up, but it was worth it. Got all the pucks on her. Seems to be sitting really well. I actually had bolts long enough to do it, so that's awesome. Inside here, I've got the floor all patched up on that side. It's better than new. I patched a little spot back there. And there's a few little pinholes over there that I gotta do something with. And then there's, I think, one more tiny little spot where there's a few pinholes there. And after that, that's good. I'm going to spray it with the rust converter stuff I got there. And then I'm going to undercoat the entire thing really well. Right now I'm working on the box. I got to finish up, patch that hole right there. And I got to weld something inside here because this has pretty much come disconnected from this bottom piece. And I got a few tack welds to put on these here. Carriage bolts that I got all in all over the place on new cross members. On the back side here, this is what it looks like. All the cross members were garbage except for the end one here. So This one here is very heavily constructed compared to what was there originally. It was just paper thin metal there like that before, so that should take the weight of the box. It's just gonna have the pucks on it, right? So I wanted to make sure what I was bolting to was pretty sturdy and would hold the box up and it wouldn't end up collapsing on me. So as long as it looks good on the outside and it's well supported and doesn't fall apart, that's all I care. It doesn't have to be perfect. So all right, so this is where I'm going to leave off on the truck build process of this whole thing. I'm just going to quickly show you what I've done here to this point. So basically, I think I showed the box. The box is, well, it's undercoated and the spots are fixed, but there needs to be body work done now to make it look decent. On the truck here, I just got these wheels, 31-inch BF Goodwrench, or 31-inch Wrangler Duratracs on 15 by 10, I believe, rims. As you can see, I'm working on the harness, and I will show you briefly what I've done with that. There's going to be a separate video that goes into depth on everything that I did to make the harness work in this truck, and start to finish basically. So I'm not going to post that until everything's done. So briefly, I'll show you what I've done with the interior here. I switched to a rubber floor. I welded that floor in over there and undercoated everything with fluid film, and then I put the new rubberized rug down instead of the carpet one, because I find these, well, they're less likely to let moisture through, and probably easier to clean than that too. So I got this here, got to paint it black because the seats and all that are black, but this is actually a center console that's good, and it has a cup holder in it, which is pretty cool because the one that was in it didn't. So, well, actually, yeah, the one that was in it was plastic, and I'm putting a bench seat sort of setup in it instead of two individual seats. So I had to do something, and I wanted one with a cup holder, so I found that at Kenny-Upol. Got that, and so let's just briefly look over here. So this truck is gonna have that rack on it there with 4 light bars, 4 pod lights on it, and a light bar for the reverse. The light bar for the reverse is gonna come on with the reverse lights, and this is a bundle of wires that I ran for that when I put the truck together there. And so basically I'm gonna use one of those wires probably to power up the 4 pod lights, and then one of them to power up the light bar. And how that's controlled is a mess of wiring out here at this point, and nothing's finalized, right? It's just touched on right places and it's twisted together, but it's all getting it figured out and how it's going to work. And then once you get it properly fused and actually the relay's kicking on and off, doing what they're supposed to do. So it's a lot of fiddling around and just plugging away at it, I guess. So basically there was some things in this fuse box that I've reused for to power up the TDI harness, which is here, and actually that piece over there. And these are some of the connection points here. I'm going to go into depth on this later to show you actually what I did, but or what I'm going to do. I haven't figured out, but I haven't actually got them spliced on yet. I also want to amp draw on everything to make sure there's no circuits that have a lot of drain on them, because I don't want any wires heating up or anything like that. So I gotta check that out, check it all out, make sure everything's done properly as I possibly can anyway for what I know how to do. For the lights on the top and the reverse lights, I added a relay for both of them. One of them is hooked up to the reverse lights and one of them is hooked up to the 4 pods. Now the reverse one I'm hooking up to, I found it in here somewhere where there's 2 wires that you gotta touch together that will actually engage the reverse lights. And I'm not really sure what I did with those now, but it does neither here nor there. I just know that I did have it working so that when you turned it on, it would click the relay on. So that's gonna have to be wired into the manual transmission. And it actually functioned the reverse lights properly, and then I basically pulled off of that onto another wire there that I'm going to run for the light bar for the reverse. Then inside the cab here, a lot of stuff done in here. There's a boost gauge there now. I tried to keep it up just enough that this here vent here would get some air by it onto the window and that, but we'll see. This lights up blue, pretty cool. It's mounted up there pretty good. I ordered a universal kit, and I had to modify it. As you can see, it doesn't look great, but it's not bad. So basically it's good enough, right? As long as you can see it and it's functional, which it is. So basically I drilled a hole in that, ran the lines down, power and the vacuum line, and then I put 3 screws in it there. Black screws, just so they sort of match, so you won't be able to see them, especially when the door's shut. So that's that. Then I have a little spot. I'm doing all my junctions down here. We went out of focus. So down in here is where I'm doing all the junctions for everything. So right here's the harness that I ran downstairs in the basement when I was working on everything. And I just made a grommet, actually. I just made one bigger. Yeah, I'll show you how I get that. I'll go into depth what I did with that. But anyway, there's the gas pedal mounted. And there's the hole that I've had in the firewall. And I put a rubber hose in there as a grommet. And I ran 2 bundles of wire, or 3 bundles of wire. I got this here. This is the OBD off the Volkswagen. I had to modify it a little bit to fit in there, but it's on. That should be working. The Ford one's still there too. It's actually right here. I just clicked it up in there. And if I need to tie into it, I can, just to check something or whatever. This is my boost line here. That's just a splice there. It's not pretty, but it's airtight, so that's the main thing. Then I pulled way too many wires, but you never know. I'd rather have them than not, especially for future or whatever. And I know I didn't hook up any of the clutch switches or brake switches yet because I don't really know what I'm doing with them. So I'm just I want to get the motor in there and everything together, and then when I figure out what it should be doing and what should be going on to make everything work, then I'll probably use a couple of these out there to hook up the clutch to the TDI harness. In here, this is what I did for the light bar, which is pretty neat, I thought. It's getting a double-din radio, touchscreen. So the moral of this is normally Rangers have this one, well, this here is an 03, that have this here for the fog lights. On the newer ones, it's over there, but on the old ones, I like it. It's right here. So you click that, that engages your fog lights, and that's cool. So I actually had a spare one of these, and it had another button on it. So I got real creative, and I cut a little hole there. It's not that pretty, but it's pretty close. And now you can actually click that, and that's going to be for the rack lights, the 4 pod lights. So it's pretty cool. There's a little indicator light that lets you know it's on and all that on both of them. So I hooked it up there on this. So when I click that, the indicator will come on there, and then my pod lights will come on. So that's pretty cool. No hokey like toggle switches everywhere and all that. It just looks like factory. So that's nice. I like that. Another problem I had with the truck was nothing worked. Like, power windows didn't work, the locks didn't work, everything was all screwed up, the power mirrors didn't work. So it ended up, I changed a bunch of parts. This here was melted together. I don't know what happened inside of it, but it was melted. I had to replace that. The dimmer switch is also melted inside, so I have to change that. And what it ended up being, as far as the controls not working, I changed relays, I changed the gem module, I changed all kinds of nonsense, and it wasn't any of it. It was literally a broken off wire in that boot. That's all it was. And it was the ground, which grounded everything in the door. So without this door working, that door didn't work, which is interesting, but it's how they got it made, wired. So once I fixed that, everything came back to life, and so I'm quite happy about that. Everything's working now, so I got power windows that function, and everything is as it should be. So that's basically about it for this. I'll post up a video when it's done, I guess, or yeah, pretty well, because this is like the build of the truck, so it's pretty well done. Basically, at this point, we're going to be moving on to getting the motor in as soon as my adapter plate gets here, and getting that all thrown together, the clutch, everything. So that's going to be a big deal, and making motor mounts and getting the power steering hooked up and all that kind of stuff. So that's all going to be fun. But yeah, that's where we're at with it now. So stay tuned for, I would say, probably mounting the engine, and that will be next, and getting all that functioning, and maybe a test start and stuff like that. But don't count on the wiring video right off the bat, because I'm not really to that point yet. Also, yeah, so that's about it for now. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.